Hello, everybody. This is your 1-minute warning. Yes, please and thank you. Hey, all right, let's see who we got here. That's fine. That's fine. All right. All right, 45 seconds.
This is almost intimidating here.
It should. You should be intimidated. No, it's a friend. Oh, hang on. I've only had one cup of coffee, and that's why.
You should drink more coffee.
Actually, you make me nervous.
Really? And I laughed. Wait, okay, now I've got to figure out where you're not going to knock my coffee off. Don't steal my coffee. And the way you were doing your little notebook thing, it falling all over the place. I know.
All right. So I do not have a school marm bell, but if you could imagine me going ding a ding ding da ding da dang dang. Okay?
I'm having difficulty imagining you do that.
You have a difficulty me ringing a school bell. I don't think these people have any difficulty imagining me ringing a school bell. Let me offer a few words of note, of housekeeping that I think is important for us to begin with. A reminder to all of you who have not joined us before for the class that we are recording it and we are broadcasting it live on our YouTube channel. So just a reminder that there are folks who are joining us online who are at home and watching with us, and the recording of this will be available ad infinitum. So, well, depending on how the conversation goes. The conversation will be recorded and on our YouTube channel going forward. So, as we come around and you introduce yourself, you may remain seated, but just know that that's being recorded. Fortunately, you cannot hear online unless you are this close to the microphone. So if you hear me repeating what you're saying, it's not me trying to mansplain your question. I am repeating it for those who are online, okay? Wonderful. Next week, we will have our Texas State elected for our district, our Texas State Representative, Vicki Goodwin, who will be here next week. And in 2 weeks, we will have our mission fair, or our ministry fair. This is an annual thing that we do. It's here in the fellowship hall, and we will have representatives from a large variety of our ministries, both our internal ministries and our external partners in ministry. They'll have booths here. You want to reserve that day to be here and participate in that. especially for a lot of our guests. You will get to know our community and the ways in which we reach out very well through that day on the 16th, okay? Okay, and then we got a whole lineup going forward. In the handout, you'll notice as I send them out each week, there is the blue underlined portion on the front page of the people we have already visited with. So if you click that in the handout that I email out, that is a hyperlink that takes you to the recording of that day. So if you miss a class or you want to go back and listen, click that hyperlink there in your handout. Okay, but don't click it on the paper because it won't work. See, I'm done being serious, and now I can be silly. And I think that's all my notes. Once again, thank you to the deacons and for the hospitality crew who make coffee for us, and it is delicious and absolutely nutritious. So, all right. Well, here we go. Here we go. We're going to begin with prayer. Let us pray. Gracious and compassionate God, we gather in your presence, inspired by the call to serve those most in need. May our hearts be open to the lessons of faith and action, and may we be equipped to bring hope where despair reigns. Bless this gathering as we embark on this journey together, led by your spirit of love. Amen. Also, a reminder in the handout there, item number 3 is our class covenant, including 7 points that we strive to live by when we are having larger, more complicated conversations, and as we are striving to build a community of recognizing the sacred in the other. So I draw your attention to that. Each week, I try to have an icebreaker question tied to one of those covenant points, and today's is approach as equals. So I'm going to start at the back. Marty, we're going to start with you. And I'm sorry. And we'll go all the way down, and we'll get over to Reeve, and then we'll come back around, and we'll serpentine all the way back to me, and then me, you. Okay. Your question, if everyone in the room were a superhero, or if you were a superhero, what would your superpower be? Okay, so you're going to say your name. And today I want you to say whether or not you live in Travis County. Okay? All right, so you're going to say your name, whether or not you live in Travis County, or what county you do live in. And then if you were a superhero, what would your superpower be? And I will be repeating your superpower so that folks at home can hear it. All right, Marty. Tennis is what she had said, and I absolutely believe that would be your superpower. Compassion would be her superpower.
And yes, you live in Travis County?
No, you live in Williamson.
Oh.
Do you live in Travis? It is weird. But it is Leander, right? No, I'm not mansplaining. The county lines are so confusing and wonky. It's like these people who live out in the middle of nowhere in Leander and Travis. I'm getting back to you.
But I translated that.
Thank you.
Yes meant Travis County, right?
You said that right. You're on the list. Okay, next. She'd like to fly. Empathy. Supportive. X-ray vision. Okay. Caring. Listening. Invisibility. What was it? Telepathy. Photographic memory. Healing. Endurance. Okay, good. Presence. The superpower would be presence. Good.
Julie Pratt, Travis County, mind melding to be able to change minds and hearts.
Ooh, mind melding. Oh, we're getting creative.
Patty Harrison, live in Travis County, getting rid of hatred.
Getting rid of hatred.
Pat Griffith, Travis County, Travis County, and I would like to work with her, be a cause of peace.
Be a cause of peace. Read minds.
Diane Rogers, Travis County, and kindness.
Kindness.
Nancy Ryder, Travis County,
Understanding.
understanding.
The superpower would be to preserve American democracy. Okay. Wow. Superpower would be to solve all the world's problems.
I'm Carol Wada, yes, I live in Travis County, and my superpower, I would like to be comforting people, but I think it really is obfuscation.
Obfuscation. Okay.
Sherry Sames, yes, I live in Travis County, and my superpower would be discernment.
Discernment. And Sherry
Sherry Sames,
Saints. And how do you spell that?
S-A-I-N.
Okay.
And Steve Sains, we are temporary Travis County people, and I'm going to go with the St. Francis one of understanding, understood and understanding.
Understanding and understood, yes.
Janet Sanders, Travis County, being a comforting and healing presence.
Being a comforting and healing presence.
Brian O'Gray, Travis County, mine's listening.
Listening.
Albrecht, Travis County, forgiveness.
Forgiveness.
Lindsay, Travis County, justice.
Justice.
Lindsay, Travis County, and I would love to talk to animals.
Talk to animals.
And yes, Travis County, eating very quickly.
Someone's hungry.
He wishes that his superpower would be to eat very quickly.
Alex, unincorporated Travis County, and flying.
Flying.
Jonathan, Williamson County, we lived in Travis County for 12 years. Persuasion, but I'll settle for just basic executive function.
He said just basic executive function would be a superhero power he would love to have.
David Cook, Travis County, levitation. May the force be with you.
Limitation. Did you say limitation? Levitation. Okay. Okay.
Carolyn Goebel, Travis, and I would like to have the power to eradicate cancer.
The power to eradicate cancer.
Joan Cook, unincorporated Travis County, and mine is laughter.
Laughter. That is your superhero power for sure. Josh Robinson, and I spend the majority of my hours on this side of campus in Travis County, but I live in Williamson County. And I think if I had a superpower, I think I would like that ability. There in the book series, what was that called? The Twilight. No, wait, Twilight. What was that movie?
Zone.
Not Zone. The vampire books. Vampire books. Jasper the vampire had this ability to exude calm over others. And I would love that superhero ability to be able to control the emotional temperament in a room. Because I think that causes us to just settle down, get out of the limbic system, and into the present. And so I'd like that one. Oh, you're a sweetheart. I'll pay you later. It is my joy. Let me introduce
I
you.
get to
I know.
say
Well, I was going
mine.
to introduce you and then let you do it, but go ahead, Sally.
Well, I think what I love the most about this morning is when you said, yes, Travis County. So I'm Sally Hernandez, Travis County, and mine is partnership.
Partnership.
Something we need.
Amen. All
Now
right.
you can introduce me.
Thank you. It was a number of years ago. Many of you who have been members of our community for a long time know that we spent about 7 seasons, 8 years, really in the depths of mental health ministry. And annually, it would culminate, our efforts would culminate in the NAMI Walk, the National Alliance for Mental Illness Walk, usually on the last weekend of every September. And we were a community who did a lot of fundraising, and we would gather together on outside the Long Center, and we would participate in a walk to the Capitol and back in support of mental health, mental awareness. And for many years, we were one of the top 1 or 2 fundraising communities as a part of that. And then one day, lo and behold, someone got this great idea that they would challenge the kings and queens, the royalty, and threw down the gauntlet and came out of nowhere and raised more money by the click of her finger than we could in 7 years of raising. And I took that personally. And so for 3 years, we had a great competitive spirit. That's how I got to know Sheriff Hernandez, not only as someone who has a great dedication to mental health, mental awareness, but also that has brought that institutionally into the department for her staff, that they too would be trained as we've worked on training on mental health, mental awareness, because there's a large intersection of where their work is intersecting with that and the people in which they serve and meet on the streets. And so I am eternally grateful for that. The last time that we participated in the NAMI Walk was September of 2020. The world was sort of a mess during that year, and we hosted the NAMI Walk here with her team and our team combined together. And it was through all that process that many of you may know Scott Seaman, who was head over heels involved in the NAMI Walk, and also became a good friend of Sheriff Hernandez. And they have stayed and sustained a relationship for many years since then. And so we are grateful for the ways in which she has served our community. I'm also grateful for the ways that I've been able to learn about the women's facility that you oversaw, the vision you had related to that, the justice that you wanted to see executed in those in that facility, and then seeing it come to life, and the impact that it has made for females who become incarcerated. And so we thank you for your leadership. Let you introduce yourself as you see fit, and as you want also to share. but know that you're a real friend of Hope Presbyterian Church. We're so grateful that we have had this relationship for so long, and especially grateful for you to come and spend time with us today as we talk about issues of homelessness. And we are sitting at the feet of the Master, wanting to hear from you, your experiences, your expertise, your insights in this area that has, over the last decade for sure, has really become a front and center issue for our community. So with that, friends, let us welcome the Sheriff, Sally Hernandez.
Thank you all so very much. It's an honor to be here. He didn't finish the story, so I want to finish it just a little bit. Yes, we came and we joined in. We were number 1 and you were number...
Yeah, it was not number 1.
2.
Yeah.
But,
wow.
but what they did too was such a ploy. Scotty, who is really, I guess he's grown now, so I really should call him Scott. But he was their champion, right? And adorable, sweet. So how could the mean old sheriff beat Scotty? Well, she did, because everybody in the NAMI Walk wanted to beat the sheriff in that race. And so, as you can imagine, the more money that the sheriff raised, the more the other groups raised. Mm-hmm. And so it really was a partnership where everybody got together and we did great work. So I wasn't going to let, a young teenager intimidate me. So, out of 254 sheriffs in the state of Texas, there's only 7 that are women. So I'm not, I'm not easily intimidated even by young men, right? But it's an honor to be here. It's an honor to be your sheriff, and I am delighted to talk about these issues because they're near and dear to my heart. Probably while we're talking about this, you're going to see that the role that the Travis County Sheriff's Office plays when it comes to homelessness has a lot to do with what we do inside the jail. Because we're in an unincorporated area, like many of you acknowledged, most of the people that are experiencing homelessness really go into the city. The ones that, and we do have homeless camps and people living in the unincorporated area, but most of those people are wanting basically to be by themselves. But in the Sheriff's Office, we work really close with the Constable's Office Precinct 3 that has a devoted department to helping people that are experiencing homelessness. And so we work really close with them, and then we also, that's in West Travis County, and then East Travis County, we are partners with the village
Community First.
Community First Village. And we have a very, very close relationship with them. Alan Graham, the founder of that organization, is a really dear friend of mine. And I think if you asked him or you asked me, it's revolutionary, it's amazing, but if you asked us, we would have to be honest with you and tell you that it comes with problems, right? Wait, let me change that. Not problems, challenges. Because the people that are living out there are people who have experienced chronic homelessness, right? And so their way of dealing with situations and circumstances, they've learned a different way of handling those, and any kind of conflict, they handle it a lot different than what you or I would do it. And so we have a lot of calls out at Community First Village, and it's like 50 acres. Are y'all all familiar with Community First Village?
So many of us, there are a number of us who are familiar with Community First, and Alan Graham will also be one of our speakers here in like 3 weeks.
Wonderful.
And then in 4 weeks-ish, we're going to take a field trip out on a Sunday after, in this time slot. We're going to do a field trip out to Community First Village. So he will be here and will be interviewed just alongside of us.
Well, great. Well, then I'm not going to tell you a whole bunch about it, but I am going to tell you what our role is, right? So we get a number of calls out at the village. But no more than you would think about than we do, maybe not in neighborhoods, but like apartment complexes that are dense, right? And so we get a lot of calls out there, and most of the time it has to do with just disputes or medical or some of those issues. But just recently, this past week, we were at a Rotary Club where one of my deputies, Tracy Jones, was awarded an award for his work that he does at Community First. And you have to realize that you've got to have a heart to really go out and serve that population. And Tracy does an outstanding job. So I'm very, very proud. I love our relationship. We love servicing Community First Village. It's just a great thing, and you're gonna adore Alan Graham. And when you go out there and you see that it's more than just providing a roof over their head, it really is Christian based. They learn trades. They have a community outreach. You know, we go out there and what is that bag game that you throw into the hole?
Cornhole.
I'm not very good at it, but I give it every effort I have. We go out there and do those kind of things with them, and it's good, and you're going to really enjoy him being there.
So, in your tenure in public service and in law enforcement, and especially related to your work in the sheriff's office, you know, how would you describe, and forgive me, I can't remember what year you were first elected.
2016. I
2016.
took office in 2017.
So yeah, so about quite a number of years, and
I was 13. No.
You know, in your experience, talk to us a little bit about your observations regarding the state of homelessness in Austin, Travis County, and then also include what is one aspect of what you see that gives you hope, and what is one area that still gives you concern related to the issues of homelessness?
And so what I'd like to do is just share my perspective. I
Please.
oversee a huge correctional facility, right? We are the 5th largest county in Texas. And so we have today about 2,350 people in our care, in our custody. And 40% of those people are diagnosed with some element of mental health. Now, most of my conversation is going to always veer back to mental health, because you're going to, just like he said, I'm very passionate about this. I mean, it's the reason I even ran to be sheriff. When you had moms and dads coming to you and saying, my son is in jail or my daughter's in jail, and the only thing they did, the only crime is mental health, right? They were in a location, they didn't know that they were even in that location, and they were arrested for criminal trespass. Or, I mean, what do we do? Shouldn't this system be better? Once they started talking to me about that, I said yes. I'd like to say that we've made it better, but we've got a lot of work to continue to do. But back to most of the people, the ECHO does a count, right? They just recently did a count. And from 2021 until now, the number of people identified as transient or homeless in our jail has doubled. We had like 940 people or something like that. So we're seeing a whole bunch of people come into our facility that have no place to live. And so, and a number of those people have mental illness, or they've had substance abuse issues. The other thing that we're seeing, and something I'd kind of like to talk a little bit about, is just what people don't take into consideration is the trauma that they faced in their life, and the impact that trauma has had on their lives, and may even be a root cause, or is probably a root cause, for people experiencing homelessness. And when you are in that setting and you are working day in and day out with people who have experienced a lot of trauma, they have mental illness, and they're suffering, it kind of comes on you, right? I mean, how do you take care of people hurting? You've got to first take care of yourself. And Josh knows Karen Reynes, who was the executive director over NAMI Central Texas. And I talked her into coming to work for me. And she is our, you didn't know that,
I
did you?
didn't know that.
Now you're more impressed with me, right?
Would you like my card?
She is assigned to be our trauma-informed program administrator. And really, her job is to not only to help those that we're taking care of, right, with the trauma, and to provide programs and things to help them overcome that trauma, but her assignment is also to change the culture within our sheriff's office so that we are more trauma-informed. And that means taking care of each other, taking care of our corrections officers, our patrol officers. I mean, we just had a very difficult situation where, for one of our deputies, we've got to be strong, right, to be able to take care of others. I don't know if y'all do this. I'm a little crazy about setting goals in when the year turns around. But mine are more word related, and my 5 words for 2025 is fit, firm, and focused, faith, and favor. And that doesn't necessarily mean fit body-wise, even though that is in my mind. I need to put more effort into that. But it's in how you take care of your mind, how you take care of your spirit, how you take care of your body, but all of those things. But, and I'm a woman of faith, right? And so I walk in faith and the favor of God, and I believe all those things are important. But the reason they're important is not just to make me better, but because I want to intentionally be able to invest, influence, impact, ignite, and I've lost my other one, and inspire those around me to do more. And so I say all that because I think Karen's role is just that.
Is to help with those things.
Right. So there's the hope. Like we've got vision to take care of each other, take care of us, and take care of those we take care of. And we feel like we have a plan to push forward. But all of you know, or you wouldn't be in this room, that homelessness, mental health, all of these things, they're so huge and they're so big. And not one person or not one agency can do it all. We all have to work together. We have to partner. We have to come together to do this.
And speaking of the partnerships, what are some things that you mentioned ECHO, and we talked a good about ECHO last week, and ECHO ending community homelessness outreach, something to that effect.
Well, it's coalition. I never haven't figured out why the O instead of a C.
Okay, well, I don't know.
Yeah.
Either way, we talked a good bit about that last week. But what are the partnerships that you have witnessed? So part of what we're striving to do and to discern is not necessarily reinvent the wheel, but then also what are some areas that are gaps in community care that may work really well on one side of town that does not work well on another side of town. We know that there are areas such as food deserts within our county where you have to travel more than 2 miles to get 2 or 3 miles to get fresh fruit and vegetables without mass public transit. That's a food desert. We know that we have pockets of medical care deserts that are also really difficult to get to if you don't have insurance and, again, your own personal means of transportation. Same thing for mental health and a whole variety of systemic issues. And a lot of that, again, just depends on what part of town you're living in. So I guess what we're curious is what have you witnessed or experienced or seen with regard to partnerships that have been very effective? And then what are some areas that, these are some things, if I had a magic wand, that I would give counsel to churches like yours to work on.
Wow. Okay, so that is a little bit more difficult for me because, again, county versus city, because a lot of what you're talking about has to do with internal kind of city things. But, again, my experience in what we're doing inside the jail to help people to reentry and to get out is we're working with Central Health to get MAP cards, to get them hooked up to services on the outside. So,
did you say MAP cards?
MAP card, medical assistance programs.
Okay.
Yeah. And so we're trying to work, we're in partnership with Central Health. But as for a community, I mean, we are in legislative session, right? And so being up to date and aware of bills that are being presented that go against our values or I mean, we need people at the Capitol speaking up and speaking for your values, right? Programs that have to do with mental health, you're going to hear a lot about, and hopefully not the crazy sheriff is up at the Capitol again, screaming out about mental health and just the lack of, I mean, we're the worst state in the union, I think, or close to it, on what we do for people with mental illness.
Is that right? Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, it really is, I'm not doing
it's
very
okay.
good
No,
on
it's
this,
okay.
but because I guess I focus more on really the services and the things that we do to try to get people back in our community, back on their feet with a positive thing happening. I don't know if y'all heard that we're in partnership with ACC and we're providing a computer lab for inmates that are in our custody so that they can learn how to even work a computer. So, because nowadays you can't even apply for a job without using, computer assistance. So we're doing that with ACC just to cast a vision, get them to focus or to see bigger and past their current circumstances and situations. And so we're really excited about that. We're graduating 12 from the program very soon. And so
I actually met one of the facilitators of that who, and I can't remember her name, I just met her a few weeks ago, and she was talking about, she was formerly incarcerated and is the ACC liaison to this program. And there are some other ministries around here, not many, that are helping with transition life, right? Transitioning from incarceration into, I think the words that you said is to see beyond your current circumstances.
Absolutely.
And let me ask you, focusing within the jail, you've had an opportunity to engage with the people in your custody and to hear a number of their stories. What are especially some of that 940 of persons experiencing homelessness patterns that you see, stories and their patterns in the stories that you learned, whether it's from their file in the filing cabinet or from what they just tell, the narratives that they tell you, what patterns do you see related to homelessness, and what is something, and of course, mental illness for sure. One of the things we talked about last week is that, when you enter into the trajectory of homelessness, you might not be someone experiencing mental illness then, but by the time you become chronic because of the trauma of it, you may enter into a chronic mental illness because of the trauma of being there. So it's not always the root cause, although it can be. So talk to us a little bit about the themes within the stories that you hear from the persons that you've either learned about or, and I was thinking about if your goal is to help them to see beyond their current circumstances, partnering with ACC, thinking about recidivism, right? Goodbye, we don't want to see you again. How do we set you up for success, right? And what have been some of the things that have been most impactful on setting them up for success when you open the gates?
Okay, so he gave me credit for the women's trauma-informed facility, right, that we didn't get.
Excuse me. I misspoke.
No. We do have a facility that is not the one that we worked for over a year on with community advocates and people in reference to that facility. We have a building that we have transformed into a women's trauma-informed facility. So you're correct, but we did not get the building because a lot of people said we were just building it so that we could put more women in it, that we would never get 350 women in our jail, which is not true. I mean, we have that, and only 96 women get to experience a building that is designed for trauma-informed care. But during that time that I was advocating and fighting for that building, I went in and spoke to women that have been here more than once, right? Women that keep coming in, and every one of them talked about trauma very young in their life and experiences that they face that got them into the cycle of incarceration. And I think that is it. I really do believe trauma is probably number one in my book, and that's why I'm so thankful to have Karen and the work that she's doing. I think it starts with trauma and not having resources or not having somebody casting a vision or wanting to help them work through it. And I interviewed a number of women, and a funny side of it, if there is one, many of them I asked, were they incarcerated in other facilities, and they said yes. And I said, well, which one did you like best? And they said, well, we like it here, but we like Hays County because they have better commissary. They have like ice cream and cold Cokes, and so I learned a lot of things that we don't do, but they, as far as the way they're treated, they liked being here. But yeah.
What is something in that? And I'm going to ask you one more question, and then I want to take some questions from the church members. But what is something that in the cycle of trauma, right, and the great efforts that your organization is doing to try to help heal them and to set them up for success so that they don't return? What are some things that you have witnessed that, because of the trauma, because of the difficulties that that those in your custody reject or have a hard time embracing? You were talking about, hey, we like these programs, but I like the ice cream in Hays County better. May be silly, but it also, I think, is a symptom of chronic homelessness where you're only thinking about the very next thing, the most immediate next thing. I can't think about hope because I'm hungry. Right. So what are some of the things that you see that, despite all y'all's best efforts to set them up for success, they're not able to overcome?
And I should have been talking about this a little sooner, but how many have heard that we are really working on doing a diversion center here in Austin, right? A mental health diversion center, which is excellent, something that we desperately need. We not only need a building, but we need programs that provide services for those suffering from mental illness. I would like to see those programs built, and then we build the building to fit the programs versus a building built and then we stick programs in it. I say that because I'm part of a steering committee and we're working very hard to accomplish this goal because we need it. But the part of the problem is we don't want it to be like the jail. We don't want it to be a revolving door, right? So a diversion center is a voluntary, you can either go to jail or you can go into the diversion center and get help. Oftentimes, the cry of the street and the cry of the old habits, the cry of all of that are louder to them than the cry for help.
Well, they understand it, they've lived it, they know it, that's the comfort factor for them in that.
Yeah, I need to go back to where I feel like I belong, right? So how do we make a diversion center? How do we make any program that is trying to get them back in community, right?
Right.
How do we make that where it is more inviting? And I think that's our challenge, right? Is how do we do that?
Okay, thank you. Let's take some questions. Michael, and then Sherry.
I want to first thank you for your empathetic approach. You're a very empathetic human being. And I'm curious, sometimes your station will call you to be a disciplinarian or enforcer to people you empathize with. So what do you do within yourself? What procedures do you go through when you are called to do that and you empathize because of homelessness or mental illness with the person that you have to engage with?
So the question that Michael asked is that in her role as sheriff, she has to be a disciplinarian and an enforcer. And how do you balance that with what's so clearly her heart of compassion for persons with mental illness and the challenges of trauma? Is that fair? Okay.
And I'm also hearing that how do I enforce the law but do it with compassion?
Yes.
That's exactly what you have to do, right? If you have to look at, when they come into my facility, I say this all of the time. I have very little to say about who's brought in to the Travis County Jail. There's over 30 law enforcement agencies that make arrests into the Travis County Jail. We are, the Travis County Sheriff's Office, we make arrests also. We're one of those 30. But there's so many people that are bringing people in that have violated a law, right? So I have very little to say about who's brought in, and I have even less to say about who's released. That's a judge, that's, the DA's office and defense attorneys. It's not, we don't have anything to do to release them. My commitment is how they're taken care of. And are they prepared? Are we doing everything that we can to keep them from coming back? He said earlier, and you say, I don't want to see you again. I say that all the time. You're not welcome back. Don't come back. I don't want you here. I want you with your kids. I want you with your family. I want you to, what can we do to help you get there? But it is painful to know that the pool of all of those things is stronger than what we can do.
Yeah.
So how can we make that stronger? And it's really, when I get amongst people like you and you're expressing concerns and ideas, man, I take them like a sponge. I mean, I want to hear. So, thank you. I don't know if that answered it, but.
I think what I heard you say was earlier was that the cries and the calling of our areas of comfort, our friends, our social networks, the streets, substances, and the blindness even of trauma is what continues to be louder than the person's ability to be able to hear a call for help or an offer of help.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and let me just follow up on that. Is there something that you do personally when you know you have to play more of the enforcer, your elected role? Are there things that you do to take care of yourself when you know, like, I am committed, my integrity means I have to do these things. I don't feel like I'm compromising, but it's also not the easiest. What do you do to take care of yourself in those situations?
That is very difficult. But if you don't take care of yourself, I know, and I preach, if you don't take care of yourself, you're not going to be able to take care of others. So we do that. Part of our program that we have, it's called the POWER program. It's Professional Officer Wellness Reset. We are partnered also with the Samaritan Center. Are y'all familiar with the Samaritan Center? Their focus is on law enforcement or first responders and veterans. And it's a counseling program, and they offer a bunch of services. And so we partner with them so that our officers, they can go in and get like 10 free counseling sessions. They take a little token, so it has no identifiers, they can go in and talk, and they don't have to worry about them saying something that's going to get back to the sheriff. Like, if they think that I talk to all these counselors and find out what's wrong with them, I don't. But we want them to be very confident in that. And so we have a whole bunch of wellness programs that are designed to take care of our officers. Because again, how do you have a trauma-informed approach if you don't have that culture? And so we are building that culture. Have we apprehended yet? No, but we are working, and we're moving at a fast pace toward that, because we know the value of the services that we provide and that we model will help those that are with us.
Wonderful. I'm going to come to Sherry. Are there others who, Sherry, and then Kathy, and then Elaine? Woohoo! I'm going to make a list, but let's go to Sherry.
So, although most of the people who end up in your facility have experienced trauma, there are people who have experienced trauma that don't end up in your facilities. So there must be things that we know about how people handle trauma better. Like, what are the things that make you resilient in cases of trauma, and are there ways we can amplify those things for people around us?
So if I understand the question correctly, it's what are some of the things that they do to help build resiliency? Is that fair?
I'm asking about before you get there, before you become before you
Get arrested.
yeah, before you get arrested. What is it in people's lives that makes them resilient enough that they don't fall down?
What are some things in people's lives that help them become or make them resilient so that they don't fall down the trajectory of either homelessness or incarceration?
Well, I think not a counselor. I can just speak with some of the stuff that we have done, but we have a program called My Steady Mind that is for employees. But in that program, it talks about you have to recognize that you even have trauma in your life, right? And then you have to work through it, which even might mean getting help or getting around people that are going to help you work through that trauma. But I guess I'm not, are you asking, like if we come, my deputies on the street or my CIT team, if they come across somebody that's in trauma, what approach do we take?
It seemed like maybe you were beginning to answer there, right? And especially with some of why you have a value with your officers, your staff, for them to recognize their own trauma in order to help others, right? So that they're not operating from necessarily from a place of woundedness, but also working towards healing. And I felt like, Sherry, what she had said was recognizing your own issues. And as a compassion care provider myself, I can tell you how many times I'm encountering folks who have concerns, they have issues, they have trauma, and when the hand is extended for, let me help you find a mental health professional, a Stephen minister, connect you with a deacon, the hand comes back. The hand of rejection comes back. And I think it becomes very difficult, I think, for us to, I think what I felt like I heard you say was, it requires, the resiliency starts with us being open, recognizing our own trauma and woundedness, and then being willing to do something about it. Because what I felt like I heard you say was, not tending to it begins to lead us down that path. I think that's what I understood you're saying.
And with, if I can just take it a little and just apply it to, so deputies, we have recovery deputies, right? When somebody drowns in the lake and they have to recover the body, or our detectives that work one homicide after another. I mean, it's just things that any kind of critical incident, I mean, you can't imagine the amount of fatality accidents that happen in Travis County that our deputies are working, right? And they see it day after day. Anytime there's a critical incident, we have a staff psychologist. We don't mandate that they go and talk to them. What we do is we say that it's required for you to go over there and get resources. You don't have to stop and talk to her. You don't, but you have to go, and you have to go and get resources. Because if you just go to the psychologist, most of the time they stop and then talk, right? So we do things, and then we have peer-to-peer groups where if they're going through something, they can contact a peer and they can talk through it. But I think it's having somebody to talk to, having the ability to know that there's places that you can go. It's sharing that information and trying to encourage it as much as possible.
Thank you. Thank you. So our order of our 4 questions, Kathy, Elaine, and then Emily. I know that's only 3, but Alex pulled back.
It's obvious that you have a compassionate heart for the people that are incarcerated. I'm assuming that not everyone's loved you. So I guess I have 2-fold questions. One, are there part of you that have a compassionate heart that you do? And when you see someone mistreat someone who's incarcerated, how do you do that? How do you handle that situation?
So Kathy's 2-fold question is, knowing and seeing the heart and compassion of Sheriff Hernandez, is that a common culture within those who are employed in the office? And then secondarily, how do you respond to that when you see mistreatment, either within the organization or elsewhere?
I am a very compassionate person, but I'm also a pretty firm person. So I will tell you that the majority of the people at the Travis County Sheriff's Office share the compassion. I can't tell you that 100%, none of you would believe that, nor would I. Those that don't share and those that do something in violation of that, we have a little department called Internal Affairs, and there is a complaint that's filed on them, and a full-blown investigation happens. And it's, if they don't share it, then they can't learn it, then they need to find some other place to go.
What was something that you did to help build that culture of compassion? It's not something, it's not a word I would think many of us would identify with the sheriff's office or jail. What was something that you have used to help build that culture within your staff?
I think it's just being an example, right? People want to follow a leader, and I think it's just being an example. We have good men and women at the sheriff's office. I'm not the only one. I mean, I really do believe it's contagious. I think you don't hear a lot about the sheriff's office in the news for use of force and all of that, right? And the reason is because of the training and the experience that they get. Before they go out on the street, they're working in corrections. They're working with 48 people in a pod, right? They don't have a gun, they don't have a taser. They're having to learn to communicate and talk and de-escalate. And so they do all of that before and then they go through a class, it's called COBRA, which is the basic recruit class for corrections officers, where they learn all kinds of de-escalation techniques and how to talk to people and how to treat people, right? And then when they decide that they want to go to patrol, well, then they go through another academy, and it's the Basic Peace Officer Academy, where they're taught even more on how to de-escalate. And so when they get out on the street, they've already had a lot of experience inside the jail, and then through 2 different academies. Another thing that I think, when they promote from a corrections officer to a deputy and they're sworn in, they have to kind of say what this means to them. They have to get up and give a little speech. And I love whenever the corrections officer gets up there and the first words out of their mouth is, everything that I learned in the medical building or the mental health building, I want to take out on the street. And then when you hear those kind of things, you know that they not only respect the culture, but they have bought totally into it.
Thank you. Elaine, then our last one will be Emily. Elaine?
Well, my daughter is a therapist, and she works a lot with mental health and people in mental health
Mm-hmm.
and substance abuse. So my question is, do you have enough money or programs to give these people that are incarcerated individual counseling? Or is this something that you're working for that diversion program?
The question from Elaine is, she stated that her daughter is a mental health therapist, and are there enough financial resources within the sheriff's office to provide mental health therapy individually for those who are incarcerated, or is this what you're striving to build through and did I hear you say diversion program or divergent program?
Diversion.
Diversion program, yeah.
So you're not going to ever see an elected official come out and go, we have tons of money and we have all the money we need. But I will tell you, the county judge and the commissioners are very, very supportive of the mental health efforts inside of the jail. And they're very supportive to the diversion center. I mean, in fact, Judge Brown and I are co-chairs on the steering committee for the diversion center. I will tell you that, unfortunately, your daughter picked an occupation that is underpaid. I mean, they need more money, especially for the commitment and everything that they do. My hat goes off to them. We have a director over our mental health unit. His name is Danny Smith, and I don't know what I'd do without him. You think I'm compassionate about people with mental illness? You can't find a more dedicated person to that. And so he's always fighting to increase the salary and the benefits for those the clinicians that work with him.
Wonderful.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
there is individual counseling for those who are incarcerated. Let's take our last one, Emily.
I was touched by what you said about the need for the individuals that you work with to see beyond their current circumstances. And I know in the past year, you have welcomed Women's Storybook Project of Texas into your facility. And I just want to remind the people of this congregation, that's an organization that we support and that we gave a grant to Storybook Project that enabled them to provide one of the programs in Travis County Correctional System. And I think it's so important because you're helping those mothers see beyond that circumstance and keep them connected with their children. And perhaps that will help lead to the resilience that you spoke to. So I thank you for
Thank you.
programs like that for your inmates. Thank you, thank you.
Well,
Yeah.
thank you. The mental health director, Danny Smith, is also over our programs. And we have, I think, almost 400 volunteers that come into the sheriff's office. We couldn't do it without our partners. And so when I said a superpower is partnership, it truly is a superpower. And all of you being here is so empowering to me, that you care about people that are experiencing homelessness and that you care about those with mental illness and experiencing the trauma in their life. Thank you. Thank you. You're vital. You're very important. Can I call on you whenever I'm mad and I'm going up to the legislature and I need some backup?
You can always call on me. Many of them have called on me and used my office as like a soundproof cursing vault. That's a confessional. For those of you who weren't able to hear what Emily had said, is that one of the ministries that we support is the Women's Storybook Project, and you will be able to get, excuse me, more information about that at our ministry fair in 2 weeks. But it is a program that has been welcomed by the Travis County Sheriff's Office, and the good work that is provided through that program is also something that participates in helping those women to see beyond their current circumstances and be tethered to something that can help foster that resiliency to lower that revolving door back into the custody of the Travis County Sheriff's Office. For our time together, and I want to make sure that you get a final word, for our friends who are watching online, if you would please send me an email and let me know that you have watched us and joined us online, I would appreciate it. I want to make sure that I note that your attendance with us. Again, a reminder to all of you, next week we will have our elected official for District 36 that we're in, Vicki Goodwin, 47, Vicki Goodwin. And so please come back for that. And once again, thank you all for your time, your commitment, and devotion here. Let me ask if you have a final word you want to offer.
I think the only thing is just thank you. I really mean that. We, at the Travis County Sheriff's Office, we love what we do. We love this community, but we're always looking for people to partner with, people that are going to make us grow and be better. And so I stop by, say hello, help us cast a bigger vision for people that need a bigger vision, right? I don't know. I appreciate being able to come today and to be able to share my heart and be with like-minded people. So thank you.
Well, thank you. And one of our commitments is Matthew 25, which has 6 righteous acts: feed the hungry, give drink to the thirsty, welcome the stranger, clothe the naked, visit the sick, and care for the imprisoned. And that's one element of our desire to have a balanced approach to serving our community. And we are so grateful for that. And by way of showing you our appreciation, we'll be making a donation in your honor to one of those, one of the agencies that we've mentioned that aligned with Matthew 25 and certainly support what your heart and desire is as well. And so let us thank Sheriff Hernandez for her time. Let's close in prayer. Let us pray. Loving God, as we close this time together, let the lessons that we have learned take root in our hearts. Equip us to carry forward your hope into the world, showing compassion and offering love to those in need. Bless us as we leave and grant us courage to serve in your name. It is in the name of Jesus the Christ that we pray. Amen. Go in peace, my friends. Get some coffee on your way out.